Guys, this team lost by 43 points. They don't deserve an intro. What's going on? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Tankathon show. The Blazers today, as I said, lost by a lot, Eric. Lost by a lot. This game was brutal. Other than Chet Holmgren looking dominant in the first half. I slightly enjoyed that. Just a little bit. But this team, not enjoyed it at all, bro. How you doing? How was this the most brutal game of the year? Most brutal game since when? Like where does this rank, man? Because obviously we tried to tank at the end of last season. It was like, oh, the off season's almost here. Then we get off season stuff. It's freaking November, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. JP Savvy says, "Can we start with the Tankathon?" And
I was literally thinking about just cutting to a Tankathon screen.
Nice.
Next time we lose by like a deficit this much, I'll just cut it straight to the Tankathon stream, because at this point, Eric, there's really no basketball to analyze. It's just brutal. We are no longer basketball analysts. Somehow we got to entertain the people, because this team is not doing a good job of entertaining the people, because this team is freaking awful. It's the worst team in the league.
Yeah, Taylor Packer says the peak of this game was literally the first play. Yes, I completely agree. We have a nice post up to Ayton. He finds a cutting to Monty for a nice two-handed jam. And I was pumped up, and then...
You know what was funny? Is when that play happened, I was like, oh, they might be different tonight. This might be a game where we can take care of business. First play, this might be a sign.
Yeah, and I started taking notes, like I always do. And... it got to like 11-2, and I was like, okay, there's no point.
Yeah, I honestly, second half, I watched a little bit of it, but I was also watching the Suns game. Like, I wouldn't be taking notes right now. Like, it's brutal out here. Yeah, this freaking team. Anyway, we got the image of the Blazers shooting bricks, and Eric said that's him in the picture. He said it looks like him. So... I thought that was funny. I was
not right now with my trim beard, but yeah.
Yeah. I need to trim my beard. So I was trying to have fun at the start of this game. I was just tweeting AI generated images that go along with what was happening. So I tweeted one of Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren saying he hit a 3. Yeah, there were some funny ones. So I don't know, man. I'm trying to enjoy this team. I'm trying to enjoy this basketball, but it's as challenging as it's ever been, man. It's freaking brutal.
Yeah, I actually have a new fun game, and that's let's talk about the Blazers' narrative for the night on why they suck so bad. And why it's okay that they suck. And tonight's was, oh, we're in the exact same spot OKC was 2 years ago. And they really hammered that point home, that OKC went from 22 to 24 to 40 wins or something like that. And now they're rolling. So that's going to be us in 2 years, according to Chauncey and the Blazers broadcast tonight. So, yeah.
I'm annoyed. And now I'm even more annoyed. Because, that freaking narrative was, God. Yeah, I don't even want to. They had 1 million more picks 2 years ago because they traded Paul George for 1 million picks, and they got SGA out of it. Hopefully, we have somebody on this team that can become a top 10 player like SGA has. Hopefully, we can find the next Dirk Nowitzki / Dikembe Mutombo hybrid in Chet Holmgren. Hopefully, we can find the next late lottery star like a Jalen Williams, bro. Hopefully we can find all of that and then also have the millions of picks that OKC does. We are not the same. They are the epitome of a phenomenal rebuild, but they were in a much better spot 2 years ago than I feel like we are now. Maybe that's just the negativity creeping in and taking a hold, man, but they set themselves up for a good rebuild and then they hit. They hit on the Paul George trade to the fullest extent. That might be the biggest fleecing in NBA history, bro. They
got pretty lucky with
SGA. That. Yeah, they got lucky because the Clippers need to make that trade to get Kawhi. So, there was an element of luck. But, we're the Portland Trailblazers. We're cursed. We're not going to get that element of luck, right? So, there's one difference. The other difference is they hit with the Chet pick. They hit with the Jalen Williams pick. Now, hopefully the Blazers hit with the Scoop pick. Okay, it's still way too early to come to a determination on that, but when you look at how Chet has looked in his first few games as an NBA player, and you look at how Scoot has looked, it's a little hard not to be a little negative. But they also hit on the late lottery pick that was Jalen Williams. So the Blazers, luckily, could have 2 lottery picks this year because Golden State doesn't look too good right now. So they could have 2 lottery picks. They got to hit. They got to hit on it. Like they're in a similar position, but the problem is you got to hit on picks, and Jalen Williams was an absolute gem of a 12th pick. So this team has to hit on picks, man, and who knows? They drafted Chris Murray at 23. I am still not happy with that pick. Like, they said they had a lotto talent on him. I know Mike Schmitz has a big reputation, and I like Mike Schmitz a lot. And as far as like scouting breakdowns from media guys goes, he was the best, but just bringing him in doesn't mean you'll automatically have an automatic advantage over any other scouting department, because scouting departments do this for a living. They do this, like, that's their career. That's their entire job, is to do what Mike Schmitz did for ESPN for Draft Express. So Mike Schmitz is a very bright mind, but every front office has bright scouting minds. So you're going to hit and you're going to miss. Hopefully the Blazers can get more hits, but that's what it's going to come down to. Like, yeah, we're in the same position, but there have been teams in the position that OKC was 2 years ago. They weren't able to climb out of it because they didn't hit on draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, they've missed on draft picks, too. Uzman Jang hasn't done anything in the NBA yet. Poku, it's probably not a player. I mean, you just...
They have 1 million picks, so they're able to, have 1 million swings.
Yeah. They also have a really good coach. Mark Daigneault's done a really good job with that team. It remains to be seen, though, because they drafted 3 straight MVP or players that would go on to win MVPs and made 1 finals, didn't win a title. So it's not like it's guaranteed to work out. But yeah, it's I hate how that's like the narrative that we're all of a sudden like full rebuild mode now. Like, that's not the narrative you were pushing heading into the season. And OKC didn't keep all their vets. They traded all those guys for picks. So OKC would have traded Robert Williams. They would have traded Malcolm Brogdon. They would have traded Jeremy Grant. They wouldn't have traded for Matisse Thybulle. They would have gotten rid of all those guys for more picks. And the Blazers still can do that, hopefully. But don't compare a team that's trying to win with all these veteran players playing big parts of the rotation with a team that completely bottomed out.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Hub says, I feel like you guys discount the fact we're missing our best 2 offensive players in Simons and Brogdon. They were missing Jalen Williams tonight, who's just as good as Brogdon. Yes, we were missing Simons, but there is a massive gap between these 2 teams. Also, Eric, I'm just big picture talk, right? Like, this is a postgame show, but just big picture talk. Like, I am just so tired of being a victim of circumstance as a franchise. It's always, Stotts doesn't have enough, right? It's always, Norm didn't want to be here. Like, Norm was overpaid, but we gave him that contract. Oh, but he's overpaid. We couldn't get anything for him. Joe Cronin had no leverage in the Rocco and Norm trade, right? He had to make it happen, and then somehow he had no leverage in the CJ trade. He couldn't ask for the Lakers to back up, or the Pelicans to back up the pick that they owed us with a similar pick. Like, for years, and I've ranted about this in much more detail than just this, because honestly, I have a little bit of a headache right now. I'm not going to think too hard about every single situation, but just for years, it's just been like a victim of circumstance. Like everything that happens to us is circumstance, and we have no control, and there's nothing we can do, and that's why everything happens that way. Like GP2 is a good example from Eric Olson, right? We signed an injured GP2, and then he didn't want to be here, and then we trade him back to where he wanted to be. Like, but somehow that's not our fault, right? There's no criticism for that. There was not even any questions to Joe ever about if he knew GP2 was hurt when he signed him. So it's just like constantly a victim of circumstance. And yes, like the injuries, you can sit here and say the injuries are definitely bad luck, but at some point when you're injured season after season after season after season, you have to look at, okay, why are we injured season after season after season? Like, is it really bad luck? If it happens for 1 season, then sure. Okay, it's bad luck. But if it happens for 4 seasons where it's a consistent pattern where everybody you have gets hurt, at some point you have to wonder, okay, why is it a specific pattern? Because the more seasons it happens where we are absolutely decimated by injuries, the less of a coincidence it can be. Like, there has to be something going on, right? So I look at it that way too. I look at it, we shouldn't value getting guys like a Robert Williams III because he's injury prone, right? Like, there's a reason I wanted to flip him before the season, but instead he gets hurt, and it's like, oh, well, what are we supposed to do? He got hurt. Well, he always gets hurt. Why don't we be proactive instead of reactive, and A, go for healthier players, and then B, like, you got Chauncey running guys into the ground playing heavy minutes, and people are saying, what is he supposed to do? Look at his other options. Well, the reason he doesn't have other options because everybody's hurt because he runs them into the ground. So, I don't know, like, they played Rodney Hood with a sore Achilles, and then he tore it, right? Like, they tried to rush Dame back from the calf injury last year. It's just always, like, something where I feel like we could be doing things better, but we're just a victim of circumstance. And it goes all the way to the coaching. Like, this is not a well-coached team right now. Yes, he doesn't have much talent out there. Yes, there is a talent deficit. But a loss like this is more than just a talent deficit. And the way we've been losing is more than just a talent deficit. Like, this team is not playing the style of basketball it should be playing with the players it has on the court. Yes, it has lesser players, but they don't look well-coached at all. You can generally tell when a team has a talent deficit but is decently coached by watching them play, and you can tell the difference between that and a team that has a talent deficit and isn't well coached. I mean, we've talked about it all the time. Like, how many times do we not score out of a timeout? How many times do we feed Jeremy Grant the ball for ISO basketball and that's it? Sure, maybe that's what we have to do to win the game, but the problem is we lost 7 in a row. So what are we teaching these young guys as we try and develop them? We ain't teaching them anything. We're teaching them to stand around and watch Jeremy Grant dribble the air out of the ball. And that first play of the game to Tamani was great because they were shading over Ayton's way, and then Tamani makes a great cut and dunks. Right? Great play. The problem is those plays are very rare and very few and far between. And it's funny how that play happened on the first play of the game. Like, maybe Chauncey, prepared for, 3 hours before the game just to drop that one play. Maybe that's what it takes for him. I don't know, man. I'm tired of everything being a victim mentality. Like, there's nothing we can do. Yes, we have a talent deficit, but bro, this team was playing an OKC team that could have made excuses, could have been a victim of their circumstances, because last night, Eric, they played an overtime game on the road. This is the second night of a back-to-back, and last night they went into overtime. They looked much fresher than we did, though. So, I don't know.
Lots of rest in this game.
That's true. So good for us. But I'm not saying that, injuries are anyone's specific fault or that sometimes this organization isn't a victim of circumstance. I'm just tired of that being literally everything is, there's just nothing we can do. Like, that's just kind of the prevailing narrative is, we just don't have enough talent. Chauncey doesn't have enough talent. Well, like, what was Cronin supposed to do? He had no trades on the table. And it's just always this prevailing, victim mindset. And it's kind of feels perpetual at this point. Like, it's kind of taken this organization by the throat, where that's just the mindset that they have. I don't know, dude.
Well, Tori, I mean, the problem is we have to wait till next offseason so Chauncey can get his guys.
Yeah, Chauncey can get his guys again.
Because the players on the team obviously don't understand his complex systems and can't figure it out. So that it's just going to take some time to either get these guys to understand his complex system or to get guys in who can think smartly on the court and run the stuff that Chauncey wants to run.
Yeah, the complex system that we've never seen in his almost 3 years here. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm like, this year's gonna suck. We have to build a culture. We have no culture. We have no standard. We have this organization is nothing right now. This organization is literally nothing. The Moda Center's dead. Fans aren't showing up. Tickets are as cheap as ever, and it's freaking November. All our players are hurt. The team doesn't look well coached. We have no culture. We have no standard.
My mom texted me at halftime that she was disgusted. She was
but what did the season ticket rep tell your mom when she tried to cancel her tickets? The season ticket rep said, "Oh, don't you worry. Joe Cronin will make you forget about Dame. Just wait and see." Mm. Well, people are forgetting about Dame because people are forgetting about the Blazers as a whole.
Yeah, and I mean, some of that is injury and stuff, but We also brought in a lot of injury-prone players. Brogdon's been hurt off and on most of the last couple of years. Robert Williams, of course, has been hurt since the Celtics told him he couldn't do any more damage to his knee and played him and did long-term damage to him. And then, Scoot, unfortunately, you can start to see how he might be an injury-prone player because he's been hurt several times now. So it's starting to add up to where you can't just depend on certain players and then use that as an excuse when they get hurt, when you know they potentially have injury issues.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we signed Gary Payton while he's hurt.
Yeah. So
you brought that up. I'm still, to this day, I don't understand how Joe Cronin has skated on this. Like, either by not asking him why he signed an injured player like that had the same core problem that two of his players already had surgery for in Nas and Dame, and that they saw how much that affected their play over the season before they got the surgery, and in Dame's case multiple seasons. Yet they're just like, oh, let's just add another guy with a core injury to this. Or did they just simply not do a physical on him and understand his injuries when they were talked about during the playoffs that season? So how he skates on that, like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Shouts to JP Savvy, €2 dono. Says, Tankathon fee. Been a while since my last dono. JP, it's good to see you, bro. Thank you for the donation. Yeah, we will run a Tankathon here shortly, once I'm kind of done just venting a little bit. I didn't even plan on venting. I told Eric before the stream, like, I have no thoughts. Literally before the stream, I actually went on with Gabe and reacted to their double OT win. I had the Blazer game on in the background, but obviously was focusing on that. I'm at the point where this team is the most challenging to watch ever in my life, bro. This is such a challenge to go live after every freaking game. So post-game shows are just gonna be whatever they're gonna be. I have no plans to even necessarily talk about basketball when we go live at this point. Generally we'll find a way, but at this point, I have no plans with post-game shows. It's just gonna be brutal. It's just gonna be brutal. It'd be one thing if we had Scoot and Simons to talk about. We don't even got that. So, we're chilling, I guess. We're chilling.
Well, we don't, the one bright spot right now could be Sharp, but we don't even, do anything to get him involved in the game.
That's what I mean.
He just kind of floats around now.
You can't say, look at our roster. Look how injured they are. That's why we suck. But then you're not running anything for your best offensive option. Or I guess maybe that's Grant and they run ISO for him, but it's you got Shaedon Sharpe, okay? You got Shaedon Sharpe. Why is, no offense to Jabari Walker, bro, but why is Jabari Walker taking the most shots in this game? What?
At this particular game, yeah, there was a lot of garbage. They pulled the plug in the third quarter.
Yeah. I mean, but still, we don't run enough for Sharpe. We don't run enough for Sharpe. It's just you have to be able to dominate the ball and get a shot off of dominating the ball in the first place. It's never something where we consistently run stuff for a guy where he's catching a pass and doing something with it. And that's the frustrating thing is it's gotten worse in that regard. In the last year, we had more ball movement, we had more dribble drive. It felt like we ran Dame off the ball a little bit more, at least at the start of the season. But then as the season went on, it reverted back to what we have now. It's been a process over the past year and a half where it's reverted back to, okay, if you're going to shoot the ball, you're going to have to dribble it 5 times first, or you're going to have to hold it and jab step your defender and then shoot a contested fadeaway mid-range first. We don't run stuff for Ayton, we don't run stuff for Sharpe, but then we sit there and say, oh, well, we don't have much talent. Of course this team's going to lose by 43 points. You know how absurd that is? Run stuff for your few talented players you have left then. I don't know. He's already running Sharpe into the ground in terms of the minutes he plays him, but he won't run Sharpe into the ground in terms of running plays for him.
Hobbs says they double Sharpe and Sharpe has to play point guard as a 20-year-old.
Yeah, literally, he can bring the ball up, pass the ball, and then run off the screen back to the ball or back door or something. Like, you can run stuff for him with him being the point.
How do you double team someone if you're running the elbow curl play? And if you do, someone else is wide open then you just keep passing it to the open guy until they adjust. And
yeah. But that's kind of why, like, you know, last game he had 10 turnovers, and he, like, a few of them were definitely just 100% his fault, and it was careless. But that's why I wasn't hard on him. He's playing point. They're not running anything for him. He's getting doubled for the first time in his career, and Chauncey's kind of just running him into it, like Stotts did with Dame in the Pelicans series. And Sharp's, like, trying to drive into multiple defenders because he doesn't know what else to do. Like, he's gonna have games where he averages crazy amount of turnovers, you know? Like, I don't really see any other thing happening with that, with a 20-year-old.
He also doesn't have anyone on the roster that's setting really good picks.
Yeah. Guys, do we miss Nurkic's screens or what? Like, I'm truly realizing how big Nurkic's screens were when just watching this team play right now. Like, there is not space off screens, off pick and rolls. Like, Ayton does not set a good screen. I wouldn't say it's a bad screen, but it's just kind of mediocre, right? And that's an underrated thing for young guards, to be able to have extra space in order to, like, make decisions when they're developing.
Sharp had an incredible rebound, says Joshua Simons. Yeah, he did.
He's been rebounding the ball well, so he had like 9 last game. I had the over on rebounds for him, so yeah.
Earlier, I can't find it anymore, but Taylor asked a question: if Scoot busts or isn't that good, and once again, I'm paraphrasing, Sharp's kind of mediocre or doesn't become a star, how is this like a decade-long rebuild? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. Like, we're completely screwed if that happens.
I disagree. Believe it or not, with how negative I'm being. A decade long? No.
Well,
Sharp's not a star?
I mean, maybe not a decade, but it's really gonna.
It makes
really
it harder.
Yeah.
But in the end, you have a certain number of opportunities to landing a couple of star players. Okay, to break it down simplistically, and if that's not Sharp, then you got to get it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. If it is Sharp, then all of a sudden it's a lot easier to rebuild because you only got to get like maybe 1 or 2 other guys with the amount of chances you have left. If it's not Sharp, then you have to hit on more, and it's going to be a crapshoot. Even if you're drafting a guy like Scoot, it's going to be a crapshoot if Scoot becomes a star or not. Like, it's not some clear cut thing. But if Sharp's not a star, here's the thing. He's already like, when he's not ran into the ground and when he's playing next to at least a couple other competent offensive players, he's already like an 18-point per game guy at 20 years old. Like, he's going to get a little bit better. Like, I see no way that he's not at least like a 21, 22 point per game score. Maybe that's not quite star level, but that's close enough. Or like, if you get a couple other stars, like, he's a really, really, like, he's one of the best number 3s in the league, right? So it just comes down to what they do with their future opportunities. And that's the thing with, like, OKC, is they had SGA and he developed into that guy, but in one draft, they got Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren at 2 and 12, right? And that's why, if they didn't have those two guys, they would be a play-in team maybe this year at best, but they would not be a playoff team. Right now, they're a playoff team. They also, like, Josh Giddey. I know he gets a lot of hate, but I don't think that looks like too bad of a pick. And Cason Wallace in this year's draft, Eric, is the type of guy, once you get a couple stars, you get a Cason Wallace who's been shooting the ball great and plays freaking phenomenal defense. And he's going to maybe be looked at as a bit of a steal, but he fits really well next to their pieces. So that's the thing, though, is everything starts with Gilgeous-Alexander. We need to find our version of Gilgeous-Alexander. The Blazers need to find their next superstar. I'm not confident that it's on the roster already. I'm just not. It's possible, but that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but it's going to be tough to get a top 10 player if he's not on the roster.
I mean, if he's not on the roster, then we're going to be picking higher, right? So we have a better chance of Cooper Flagg.
I think they should go all out for Cooper. Like, that should be the plan right now. I know it's only a 14% chance at best, but like,
I'm at the point, just even before that, where in this year's draft, you take the player you think has the highest upside of becoming a superstar, even if it's a guard.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't make much sense because you got Scoot, you got Sharp, and you got Simons. The only way that I'd start talking about, like, okay, well, you draft for positional need is if those guys look like, oh, there's a really good chance that Scoot develops into, like, a top 15 player. He'd have to look much, much better than he did to start the season, though. Like, you got to find that superstar. That's the thing. It's so hard to get a superstar, but, like, that's my whole point with how people underrated having Dame, like, undervalued having Dame. Like, so many people were ready to move on from Dame, and it's like, we don't know when we're ever going to get another player anywhere close to as good as Damian Lillard. It might be another decade. Oh, well, you got Scoot Henderson. Okay, hopefully he becomes close to as good as Dame, because it's not a clear-cut thing, and that's what I was trying to tell people. Like, Scoot could end up just being a mediocre starter, maybe even worse. Like, you don't know. You do not know. He is not a 7'4" skilled mobile freak. He's 6'2". Like, he's 6'2", already dealt with some injury issues, has a questionable three-point shot. That's not a clear-cut guy that's going to clearly become a star. So, like, if I talked about this before the start of the season, I'd say, yeah, next draft, like, don't take a guard, you know, take a forward, right? There's some decent forwards. But I'm starting to reconsider the way I think about how this needs to go, because they really just need to find that superstar.
I don't think any player, if they draft a guard, it ruins all of them from becoming stars, in my opinion, because it's just, yeah, because like Scoot and Sharp are going to need to play to do that. And I mean, obviously you probably trade Anthony in that situation, and Brogdon wouldn't be on the team anymore. But I don't think having three players at a guard position that you're hoping one of them becomes a star, I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go about it.
I mean,
I think you have to hope one of Scoot or Sharp does.
Even if Ant's still here, if Sharp's starting at the 3, and you got Scoot, Ant, and whoever you draft playing the guard minutes, right? That's 32 minutes a game. Maybe you give a couple more to Ant, whoever, right? That's enough opportunity for any of them, if they are really built that way, to shine. Like, to shine. So, I don't know. It's like, if Jeremy Grant's off the team especially, like, his touches gotta go somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, you have enough touches to go around on this team that lacks offense, right? Ant can play off the ball. Sharp can play off the ball. That's part of their appeal, actually, to me, is those guys can be really good off the ball. So, like, at this point, looking ahead to the draft, man, like, it's, if you got a guy there that's a guard, but you are confident, like, this dude's gonna be a stud. This dude's gonna be an absolute stud. We have to take him, right? Just like kind of,
that's what I said about Scoot.
Yeah.
That's exactly what everyone...
You're not always going to be able to be right, but, like, I had that feeling about Dame in 2012. Like, this dude's going to be an absolute stud. This dude's going to be a star. Like, I fully 1,000% am confident in him as a prospect. I didn't know for sure, but I was so confident in Dame becoming an NBA All-Star caliber guard. If that type of guy, if you're sitting there and there's that feeling about that type of guy in this year's draft, I don't know if you can say no.
I don't know.
Unless you have somebody similar, like, you know, that's at a forward position that you feel the same exact way about. Then obviously you go with the forward, But
I mean, you're just saying it's a crapshoot, and now you're saying if you have a good feeling about someone, like, everyone had a good feeling. I mean, almost everyone agreed that Scoot was a generational prospect and you had to take him at 3. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not always going to be 100% right, but it comes down to confidence in a prospect or not. If you're the Blazers, without a single star on the roster, I just don't see how you can sit there and draft for a position at this point. At the top of the draft.
I mean, you don't ever do that. Like, I kind of agree with that, but I think you've got to make a big move, either trading the guys you have already. If you believe so much in that draft pick, I would just build around them then and trade the other guys before it's too late.
Here's the thing. If we keep them all, at least one of them's going to get hurt. You know, at least one of them's going to get hurt for an extended period of time. Right? Like, we're not going to be playing with all 4 of them all year. There's just, it's the Blazers. They're like, one of them's going to get hurt. I don't think that bringing another guard to those three ruins the chance of all four of them developing, because I think in the end, if you're that type of guy, you figure it out. And also one of those guys, at least, is probably going to get hurt because everybody always gets hurt. So, you know, that's kind of how I'm viewing things right now. Like, screw position. Because here's the thing. It's like, if there was three great prospects in this draft and two of them were forwards and we're sitting there picking number one, like, sure, take the forwards. I'm just not sold on any of the front court players other than Alex Sarr a bit.
I mean, it's November 19th. The season just started. Like,
but I'm just saying, yes, but there is no clear-cut number one prospect.
Yeah, but there also is no clear-cut star either. Like, none of these guys are probably going to be thought of the way you're thinking. So
exactly, that's what we need. That's what we need. So either it has to be on the roster, or we have to take chances to get that.
I don't understand, because you're saying if you see a star potential in a guard, you have to draft him, but there's no star potential players as of right now in this draft, no matter what the position.
I'm not saying there's no star potential players. I'm saying there's no clear-cut number one. And I'm saying there's no, like, Victor Wembanyama type prospect. There's no, like, in my opinion, Anthony Edwards type prospect. I'm not saying there's no guys with star potential.
Well, I know that, like I said, it's still too early for that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, none of these guys, I don't know. As of right now, there's no, I don't see any of these players being like, oh wow, that guy's a stud. We have to take him or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, that's where we have to watch more of these guys. That's where, yes, it is November. I'm just saying, like, at this point, man, like, this team needs a star. Needs a superstar and a leader, and then you figure out the rest down from there. You know what I mean? You don't pass on a guy you feel like has a higher likelihood of becoming a superstar because of the guys below him. You know, like, is kind of how I'm viewing things right now. Like, we just desperately need, just watching SGA just cook us today in 23 minutes. He has 28 points and is 10 for 13. Like, we need a guy that could do something like that in the next 5 years. I don't know if any of them are on the roster. Like, he just controls the game and just dominates the game offensively.
I mean, Anthony potentially could have, but I mean, I still think we need that person to either be Scoot or Sharp, or this is a very long rebuild.
I mean, yeah, but if it's not them, that's where A, we need to see the rest of the season. B, I don't think we're going to be sure that it is them at the end of the season.
Okay, but let's just say, okay, so SGA was the 2018 draft, right?
Yes. Okay.
And he got traded a year later, right? 2019 offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're talking 4 seasons later that they had that guy, OKC. And so even if we did happen to get that guy this offseason, it still could be 4 or 5 years away from...
Definitely.
So
it's going to be a long process regardless. Even if Sharp and Scoot become, like, superstar level players, I don't think it's going to happen for the next 2 to 3 years.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we're already pretty much at half of that decade already, even if we hit on an SGA player this summer. So, I think even if we do draft really well the next couple of years, if Sharp and Scoot aren't the guys, I think we're in a lot of trouble longer than the 5 years. And if it's more than 5 years, that's closer to 10. So I could definitely see that.
I don't like, if they're not gonna be a superstar caliber player, I don't think it's extended by more than a year or two if we hit in the next draft or the draft after that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it pushes back the window maybe a little bit, but that's not really, we don't need to worry about, like, is it going to take 5 years versus 7 years? We need to worry about getting there. Mm-hmm. Because the worst case scenario is we don't ever get there and then have to restart. I mean, just look at Chicago. Look at Chicago, man. Like, they short-circuited their rebuild because they got Levine, and Levine's looking good. So they're going to go get a couple of pieces. And they were never good enough to contend. And now they're stuck. They got to trade Levine. Levine isn't happy there even if they win. And now they traded Wendell Carter Jr. and a pick that became Franz Wagner for Nikola Vucevic because they were short-sighted. because Levine looked good. So, that's the thing is I'm just worried about getting there because it's going to be brutal. This team just needs to get that type of player somehow, some way in the next, in this iteration of the rebuild, even if it prolongs the rebuild a little bit.
Sean brings up a great point too. What happens if we do hit on a star and they don't want to be here long term either? Like, Dave,
we always have to worry. We always have to worry about that with anyone.
Yeah.
Who knows if Sharp wants to be here? Maybe Sharp wants to go play in Toronto in a few years. Like, we always have to worry about that. That's why I didn't want to give up Dame. But I mean, at this point, it's just like we need that guy. Hopefully, Sharp can become that guy. It makes it easier. Hopefully, Scoot can become that guy. It makes it easier. We do have like Simons and Scoot. Maybe Simons can become that guy. Simons is the closest. So we will be able to see those guys play again this season and have more of a feel for it by the end of the season. It's just like, I don't know, man. You got to find that guy. And if that guy is taking a chance on another guard and that gives you your best chance to find that guy, like, I think you got to take that chance. If that's a forward, obviously it makes it easy. If you're sitting there and Alex Sarr's in your lap and you take him, obviously it's easier. It's just somehow, some way they have to find top-end talent or develop top-end talent. Preferably both. Because OKC, they found SGA, like they got lucky in that Paul George trade, but then they drafted Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams looks like a guy that could be that type of top-end talent. That could be a star. So, it might not even be our pick this year, Eric. It might be we take a big, or we take a Matas Buzelis with our pick, but it's the Golden State Warriors pick that's at like 13 that hits. Mm-hmm. And we find like the next Jalen Williams, whoever that is. Maybe it's his brother Cody Williams, because his brother's in this draft and is projected around there. Yeah. So, like, that's the thing is I feel like rebuilds, it's easy to sit here and like look at it like, okay, this is how things need to progress, like develop Sharp, Simon, Scoot, and then try and draft the best you can. It's just kind of a linear model, but I feel like it's a very winding road that are going to have bumps and stuff that we don't foresee thrown our way. Good and bad, because I did not foresee Thunder hitting on that pick with the Jalen Williams the way they did, So that it could be good. Could be good surprises, but it also could be bad. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jalen Williams has been better than anyone could have even imagined him being in the NBA. But, I mean, a lot of people were high on that pick, and a lot of people, including yourself, was high on the Ousmane Dieng pick as well, the pick before that. And I think they got another rookie that year too. I forget who, or other than Chet, but
they got the other Jalen Williams. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jalen Williams. Yep. So yeah, I mean, but this is why it helps to have draft capital, because they gave up 3 firsts to get number 11 and still got both their guys. And Yep.
But that's the problem though, is they don't have their own firsts. And then the first they have in the future are hard to just throw into a trade for the 11th pick when they're unprotected picks.
Yeah.
Like if we had like other teams protected first,
it'd be easier to give up any unprotected ones to get 11. That was 3 protected picks. Yeah.
Which is a big part of the reason why we need to flip Grant and Brogdon is so that we can get a couple of those. Like we're not going to get unprotected picks. Obviously you take unprotected picks over protected picks. But if you're able to get a couple of, okay first, maybe you can get 2 for Jeremy if he averages 25 a game like he has been lately. Then you have that draft capital to maneuver in the draft and try and identify those types of guys. But in the end, it literally just comes down to identifying those types of guys and drafting them. It's literally what it comes down to. And that's where I don't know if this front office is built for that or not. OKC's, I think, was. OKC's basically was, we have all this draft capital. We're going to take swings for upside, right? So at 11, we're going to take Ousmane Dieng, who's a project guy but with a ton of upside. And at 12, we're going to take a guy who's maybe a little bit more NBA ready, but I felt like Jalen Williams had some upside with the way he could handle the ball, the way he could pass and see the floor, his size, his wingspan, his length. So they basically took upside plays, and guess what? Jalen Williams has panned out. Ousmane Dieng, I can't say he hasn't panned out because he's a project. He's a more long-term guy. So, but that's the thing is you got to maximize your chances to getting high-caliber talent on this team. And That's really all it's about for me. Hopefully the 3 guards we have now can all be, top 50 players, top 40 players. The problem is we need one of them to probably be a top 10 to 15 player.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, then we need to draft one. Is really what it comes down to for me, is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah. My thing is, though, okay, let's say we take a guard. Let's say we take Isaiah Collier this year, right?
Yeah.
And he ends up being better than Scoot or Sharp or Anthony. And we're good there, right? We still have to have this front office at some point acquire the right front court to put around Isaiah Collier to make it work. Because SGA has Chet now and they can grow together. Yeah. Jalen Williams has the size to play small forward if he needs to. And I mean, I still think OKC's a big away, but they've done a pretty good job the last couple of years, like you mentioned, about finding talent to put around SGA. So that's the problem. Even if you hit on Collier, it's still Portland's going to have the same problem they've had for now. It's probably going back till the 2000 team that made the Western Conference Finals, right? Where they did not have enough either depth or talent in the front court. And that's going to be the trick. Now they had seasons where they had decent front courts and good enough front courts that the great back courts allowed them to get pretty far, like in 2019. But outside of that, I mean, it's really hard to build a team if you're hitting on picks as guards, because you still need the right front court around them.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. 1,000%. It just might be a situation where that opportunity isn't there in like this year's draft. I don't know. Like, I am not, it's still very early, so like things can obviously change. I'm not saying they can't, but there is a legitimate chance they're sitting there without being sold on any of those front court prospects as being any of those types of guys at all. So that's where it becomes it's not going to be a 1-year process, right? Yeah. Like, we're probably going to be pretty bad next season too, right? And then there's the following draft, and you have those future unprotected picks. Like, no matter what position the superstar is, you have a length of time to still probably pick at the top of the draft, and then you have assets to potentially trade up in the draft or trade for that guy who's already an established NBA player and surround that sort of front court around him. So that's why it's like the picks that the Blazers have in 2028, 2029, like that time frame, a couple of the Milwaukee swaps, like, I view that as the completion stage of the roster, right? But I think between now and then, they have to... Sorry for the ESPN ad. Between now and then, they have to find their superstar. They have to find their stud. They have to find their SGA.
Yeah, I just think... I don't know. If they're sitting on the board and Collier's the best player, let's say they're at 2 or something, I think you got to trade it. And I don't think it's going to be the same as last year where... they don't have the excuse like, oh, we don't have to, like, teams know we have to trade this pick for Dame, like, so no one's offering us anything because they want Dame to get traded and all this stuff. So I don't think it's going to be the same this next season. I think you could get good value for trading that pick, and so I think
for what though?
Just like more picks, like, because I don't necessarily, like you mentioned, you can hit on anything. And we've talked about this, like, the last 2 drafts, right? Trading down. Like last year, we wanted to, or maybe not you, but one of my suggestions was to just trade 3 for a crap load of picks from New Orleans, including the 14th pick, and somehow get, like, Lively or something to be our future big. And that's not a star, but you get multiple players back in that deal. You get a later lottery pick still, and then you get a bunch of future first that you can then maneuver around in other drafts. And so, like, I don't think you necessarily have to. It's not an all or nothing in this next draft, in my opinion. I think you need to look at it as more of like a long term. Like, if you don't think one of the stars is there in this draft, then trade out of it and focus on the next couple drafts, you know?
Yeah, if you're not sold on any of the guys, yeah. It's basically, this comes down to if you have the level of confidence that whoever you're drafting is going to absolutely be a stud. If it's a Collier, maybe it's even a Stephon Castle, are kind of the two top guards up there, then, it's hard to pass up if you have confidence that they're going to be a stud and a future top 20 player. It doesn't mean necessarily that you think it's for sure going to happen, because there's always an element of surprise in the draft, and Scoot's not a sure thing. There are no sure things in the draft, but if you have a high level of confidence in that happening, it's hard trading that for like multiple assets where it's hard to be confident in any of one of those assets turning in specifically to something that has a high chance of producing that sort of player. Yes, it gives you the flexibility in the ability to move around the draft, and it gives you a bunch of ways of adding to the team. It's just, will that result in that superstar? Mm-hmm. It's hard to have a super, I don't know. It basically becomes, is it going to be easier to get that superstar if you're diluting that asset into other assets, because you're probably going to have to combine those into an opportunity that's better somehow than what you're drafting at, if you're drafting at the top of this year's draft. And that becomes the equation, and that becomes the tricky part. I don't know the answer to that, but that becomes the debate.
Yeah, I look at Sacramento 2 drafts ago, when it was reported that there were multiple teams looking to trade up to get 4 to draft Keegan Murray. I still don't know how that makes sense, but
see, if it comes down to drafting Keegan Murray, I'm trading down.
No, I know, but here's my point. Like, so Keegan helps them make the playoffs. That was a goal of theirs last year, but like, I still think that was kind of a short-sighted goal. If they trade back and somehow get Sharp and another asset or something, like, they're sitting in a really good position right now. I mean, I'm not saying Keegan's bad or anything. That's not what my point. But like, and like I said, we talked about moving down in drafts and getting players. Like, obviously we wouldn't have wanted to move down from 7 and not have Sharp, but like, there are guys, high upside guys, that we could go after, and maybe it's like the Cody Williams you mentioned. Like, if we had a chance to draft him, like, if he's our guy and we could trade back a few spots, get him, and we still have the Golden State pick, or we still have the Golden State pick and can get a guy like that you're pretty confident, like, let's just say we end up with the 10th pick or something, and we draft him, and you think that's your guy, like, why not just trade that other pick for multiple things, and now you have a bunch of assets that you can use in future drafts, and you potentially got the guy you liked in this one. I don't think that's a problem.
You know why it's problematic to me? Because I could see them going that route and then drafting a bunch more Chris Murrays.
Well, yeah, I mean, it. Of course, it's dependent on them drafting the right players. I
have more confidence in them finding the superstar just by, like, this dude with the number 2 pick is the best player on the board, and everybody agrees, and it's a guard, so we'll take him, and then he becomes, like, the next SGA. I have more confidence in them doing that than them, like, diluting assets, and then being super creative, and then drafting the right players, like, all these steps. Like, I guess part of it for me is I don't have confidence in this front office performing that route effectively, because it takes multiple steps that you have to make the right moves in multiple steps compared to just, like, one easy no-brainer pick,
Well, wasn't SGA like the 11th or 12th pick or something?
Yeah, they could definitely walk their way into that, but I don't know. That's where, like, I feel like everything we talked about in this conversation kind of, like, ties back into a couple different things, and one of the things is that's where I still don't know how much confidence to have in this front office drafting wise.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they'll impress me. This past draft, like, Repair was fine at 43. He's a project. But, like, Scoot was a no-brainer pick. Chris, in my opinion, was the wrong pick. And Repair is TBD because he's a 4-year project. So everybody was saying the Blazers had a phenomenal draft after the draft last year, and I was like, I mean, I'm not going to give them a bunch of credit for walking into Scoot Henderson, and then B, Chris Murray was not the right pick like people were saying, in my opinion. I mean, I might be proven wrong, but I still think that was just an utter mistake of a pick. And then Repair, like, yes, he's a really good gamble to take at 43. He might not pan out, and that wouldn't make it the wrong pick. I mean, you're just gambling on guys in the second round where, like, half of them don't stick in the league. But in the end, if that doesn't pan out, then that draft might not look too great. Like, it just comes down to is Scoot great or not. But, I mean, they walked into him, so can't really give him too much credit for drafting him and, like, identifying him as the guy, because literally everybody identified him as the guy at that pick.
Mm-hmm. Taylor says he went back and watched the 2022 draft stream and said I love the idea of trading back. I rewatched because he rewatched that one, and I was saying to trade back then too. Well,
212 was one of the picks actually that was talked about.
I mean, that was mostly based on people saying we were for sure trading the pick, and that Dame was going to be pissed if we wouldn't. So like that was, but if you look back on that draft, there weren't many misses. I mean, Johnny Davis is a miss. Ujmain Jang is still a project, but I mean, that's what he was drafted for. So I don't think that's a miss necessarily, even if he doesn't pan out, because you're swinging for potential. But like most of the guys in that draft are, at least rotational players right now or starting players. And so like at 12, Jalen Williams, Mark Williams at 15 has been great. Jalen Duren would be the most amazing player. If I could handpick a player to put on this roster right now that wasn't like a superstar like Jokic or something, I would take Jalen Duren because I think he would fit perfectly with what we're trying to do. But like there is a lot of players in that draft that are turning into pretty good NBA players.
Yeah. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's not a clear path forward for this Blazer team. Like, it's clear if you simplify it to they just gotta draft the right guys, but who those right guys are is going to be a debate for the rest of the season and something to talk about on post-game shows after we lose a million games. And it just comes down to, like, the reason we're having this conversation now is because the Thunder are the epitome of a perfect rebuild, in my opinion. The talent that they got now, the young talent they got with all the picks that they have is just freaking amazing. I am very jealous of them right now, not gonna lie. And it's funny because like Dame knocked them out of the playoff series, sent them into this rebuild, right? With that buzzer beater 3 in that playoff series, and it was like, ha, like we finally get the last laugh against OKC. And that moment will live forever and be one of my fondest memories as a fan. So that still means quite a bit. But now in a way they're kind of getting the last laugh because they have this this team, this core, and they've done a good job of building it. They've done a good job of drafting, and just watching a guy like SGA just completely control this game offensively just makes me miss Dame in a way, like the way he controlled games and made the offense so much better. I'm tired of watching the worst offense in the freaking league because that's what the Blazers are. And in the end, like, we just need some dudes. And it's funny because Nate Jones quoted a 503 tweet. Basically, let me find it. Let me find it on Twitter because I think it summed up kind of where we might be as a fan base right now. So 503 tweeted, "Come back soon, please," with a heartbroken emoji with a picture of Anthony Simons. And Nate Jones said, and he's like cool with Dame, like worked in his agency or something like that. He said half the fan base on here was talking about trading or him being a sixth man before the season started, which was always nuts. And it's like, And here's what I said. I said fans were so used to shot making that they started to underrate it. What a massive course correction. What a massive course correction. Like, we were so spoiled to have, like, Dame. LaMarcus Aldridge was a good offensive player, right? Like, but then Dame, CJ, Ant, Sharp. It became a situation where it's like we got so used to having guards that just made shots, especially for years with Dame and CJ. And CJ, I thought, became a little bit underrated, and like people hated on him like crazy when he like was the second best player on a team that made the Western Conference Finals. You know, he helped carry us in a way. When Dame struggled to the conference final, he had 37 in Game 7 of a second round on the road against Denver to get us to the Western Conference Finals. I hope that, you know, one guy on this team is able to pour in 37 points in a Game 7 of a second round of a playoff series. You know what I mean? But like for CJ, it's like when he wasn't doing that, he became hated. And I think we started to take for granted legitimate shot making because we were so used to having it. And all we wanted was defense because we weren't used to having it. And do you remember me warning this for a couple years, Eric?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, we get all these streams like, oh, last year, as soon as Anthony's available to be traded on January 15th, he needs to get his butt out of here. I mean, that's what we're saying about Grant this year, but like...
Yeah, I mean, it's not like this offense needs Grant scoring to not be even worse. Like, you know what I mean? Wanting to get rid of Grant is not because of, like... I don't know, like I have problems with other areas of his game, but he makes shots, he makes plays, he creates shots. We're in the middle of a rebuild though, so, you know, that's why I want to trade him. But like I feel like as a fan base, a lot of people started to undervalue legitimate shot making, and now as you watch this team that can't even reach 100 points, it's 2023. We can't reach 100 points. That's comical in 2023. When you look at other offenses, we are statistically the worst offense in the league. Like, we are desperate for just one guy that can consistently shot create. Mm-hmm. And right now, like, Sharp's struggling to do it. He's not being put in a great position. I think Chauncey could be helping him more. I think having another shot creator out there would help him more. But that's where I hated the whole, like, Dame and CJ are duplicative, or Dame and Simons is duplicative. It's like both of them can play off the ball. Both of them can hit shots. Both of them can make plays. Both of them can run an offense. How is having two guys that can do that a bad thing?
It only became a bad thing, like, in the 2020 playoffs when CJ stopped being that guy who could create offense and wasn't. He was more of a negative than a positive. And so if that happens, I agree that it needs to be split up. But until that point, I mean, you had been saying it for years that the fan base underrated McCollum,
and Simons, especially.
Simons, yeah.
Like if we had Tyrese Maxey last year, right? Like people would be saying to trade him. Look at what he's doing this year. You know what I mean? Because those shot creating types are always, if they're young enough, are always the type that could take a jump like Tyrese Maxey has made this year. You know. Yeah. Like we're hopefully Simons can take that sort of jump. Simons might have been primed to take that sort of jump, and his defense looked good on opening night. His defense looked good. I think he cares a lot about the defensive end, and I think he's willing to put in the work it takes on the defensive end to become a better defender than CJ McCollum ever was. But we're talking about him like he's incapable of ever becoming a good defender, and he is destined for the bench and this and that. People would have had those same conversations here about Tyrese Maxey because he wasn't Dame, and CJ McCollum's not Dame, and Anthony Simons not Dame. But they took it so much for granted. They started to undervalue Dame, too. A lot of the fan base did. So now we're at the point where it's like, man, just give us a guy that can make a freaking shot. I'm tired of watching this team shoot. What'd they shoot tonight from three, Eric? 26.5% from three, while the other team shoots 61% from three.
Oh, you want to hear something crazy?
What?
Oh, I just clicked off it. Hold on just a second. The Thunder tonight, 60.5% field goals, 61.1 3-point percentage, 100% free throws. They're the first team in the last 25 years to shoot 60% from the field, 60% on threes, and 100% from the free throw.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, yeah.
2.5 decades it hasn't been done.
Yeah. I mean, if they go 13 for 14, you know, that's kind of, you know, ruins the stat. But like, I'm more impressed by going 60% from the field and 60% from three.
Mm.
Like, their shooting was freaking amazing tonight, dude.
So Taylor Packer says, well, I mean, we were absolutely horrible defense for like 3 years. They were both bad defenders. You need offense and defense to win. I think he was talking about CJ and Dave. Okay. But here's the deal. Who do we have? So we come off the Western Conference Finals, right? Where we had good defenders, Harkless, Aminu, Collins, Nurk before he got hurt, but, you know, he didn't play in the playoffs, so you can't count him. And then Hood was actually a decent, like, he's not the greatest defender, but he was decent for what we needed him to do. And so we at least had some defenders, right? And we'd go on a run. The next season, we bring in Whiteside, but we really have no center depth other than Collins, but he gets hurt in the third game. And then we bring in Carmelo.
Yeah.
And the next 2 seasons, we have Carmelo Anthony as our as a front court player. And we have no backup bigs on that team. And then we have we bring Cantor back the next season, so we have Cantor and Melo again. And then we have Nurk, who is not as quick as he used to be, and we have we're playing Norm and stuff at when we trade for Norm, we're playing Norm at the 3 a lot, and we trade for Rocco, and he was not capable of being the type of defender we needed him to be. Like, he wasn't like a Harkless lock down the best perimeter guard type of guy. And then he starts chasing steals and stuff. Like, we haven't, like, I think the Blazers, to your point about just getting guards if you can find them, like, they do a good job of doing that. Like, that's unquestioned the last 12 years. They're good at finding those guys. But the problem is, and this is the problem, no matter what lineup we run out there, they don't find the right guys to pair with those guards. And until that changes, I don't think any of this really matters. They need to find the right combination of forwards. And I've said this since we decided at the draft to go with Scoot instead of Dame. I think Dame, Simons, and Sharp can all coexist if you find the right 4 and 5. If you don't do that, I don't think they can.
Yeah, it's at this point it's about finding a superstar, then finding the right role players around them that can play some defense. If that superstar can play defense, it becomes a little easier. You can maybe surround them with role players that are only offensive guys, right? You just need the right combination of offensive and defense, and you need a superstar at the end of the day. And we had the superstar, and we had a decent combination of defense to go with the offense we had when we had Aminu and Harkless and Collins and Hood. And, Nurk pre-injury. The problem is, since then, to your point, we didn't have the right balance between offense and defense because we kind of punted on the defense when you're playing Carmelo Anthony and Enes Kanter together. So, yeah, like, it's literally a two-pronged problem. Find a superstar, surround them with the right talent. That's oversimplifying it, but in the end, that's really what it comes down to.
With Sharp, too, and Simons, if he's still on this team long term, I think finding a connector 4, or it may be a 3 too, or I guess it could be a center if we move on from Ayton in a couple of years. We need a connector at one of those positions that you can kind of run a secondary offense through, or some sort of hub. Like, for example, Paul Bencaro or whatever, he might be their primary offensive player, but like, he's a good enough player to pass the ball.
Yeah.
Like, throw lobs to Sharp if he was on this team, that kind of thing. We're gonna need to find one of those players, and if they're a above average to elite defender and a secondary connector, I think that's the type of player we need. And unless we find that, I don't know how high the ceiling could be.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. So, that's the problems for this organization to figure out, I wish I had more confidence in this draft, man. I wish I had more confidence in this draft. Like, I was watching just some more, like, Ron Holland tape last night, and I don't know, man. Shout out to
I recorded a ton of games today.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch them.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing who you like, and getting started on this. Yeah, because college basketball is underway. Shout out to Hyperprime member for 24 months. Thank you, Hyperprime, with the 2-year member badge. Says, just got off work. How'd we lose by 43? Well, we can't shoot, and they make everything. We missed shots, and they made shots. No, it was much more than that, but basically they shot 61% from 3 and made 22 threes, and we're the worst 3-point shooting team in the league.
I actually kind of want to hear Chauncey do that.
Yeah, I kind of
I know you don't.
but kind of don't.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Let's do a Tankathon, though.
Okay, before we hop into Tankathon, this stream is sponsored by BetUS. BetUS. So OKC was a 6.5 point favorite on BetUS going into today. They win by 43. So if you want to try your luck, check out BetUS. Use the link in the description box below, and they'll give you a 125% deposit bonus. So if you deposit $1,000, they would match you up to $1,250. So you'd have $2,250. If you deposit $100, which is the minimum for the bonus, you get $125 of free money to play with. So if you want to try your hot hand at some live betting, the Blazers are very predictable, I feel like. I've had a really good time predicting when teams will go on runs against the Blazers and when the Blazers will go on runs themselves. They didn't have one in this game, but I think this team is pretty predictable. And at the end of the day, like, I'm trying to enjoy having fun watching this basketball team, and it's fun to use BetUS for some parlay options, for some live betting. They're super secure, great sports book over there at BetUS. So shout out to them for sponsoring this post-game stream. Make sure to use that link so you can get that bonus. And let's hop into the Tankathon. Eric, our record is looking pretty good Tankathon-wise, but we're only tied for third best odds.
Mm-hmm.
We're going for that number one spot, though.
Yep.
I think this is a 5. I think there's a clear-cut top 5 right now. That is definitely going to change. Okay, definitely going to change. But there's a clear-cut top 5. There's 2 guards, 2 forwards, 1 big. And, if we end up with the worst odds, then we're guaranteed a top 5 pick. Guaranteed a top 5 pick. Okay, so you got Detroit with the worst record at 2-12. They've lost 11 in a row. I thought they might be good. Like, they almost won opening night on the road against Miami. Remember that game?
Yeah, Duran's been out a lot.
They need him.
Yeah.
Washington sucks. San Antonio, Portland suck. Memphis, they'll get Ja back, and they'll probably climb out of the cellar. Charlotte is down there with us. Utah lost, but have been competitive. Like, I don't think Utah's going to be down. I think Utah's going to be in the next tier up.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, we'll see when they decide to tank. And would you look at that? We have the 10th pick as well.
Nice.
10th
they
pick
lost
as well.
6 in a row, same as us going into tonight, but now we're at 7.
Yeah, they are only a game out of 8th. Like, Golden State, I expect them to turn around at some point, but I like how that pick's looking. That pick has a decent chance of being better than the 2029 unprotected Boston first that everybody loved in that trade.
Mm-hmm.
Which is wild. It's going to be interesting to see what the final tally is on that Drew Holiday flip to Boston. All right, let's simulate the lottery and scroll up as we normally do. So far, so good. This is supposed to be Portland via Golden State. There it is. At 9 is the Clippers pick going to OKC. So, they're still getting lottery picks because they have the 17th. Right now, they would have the 17th and the 9th picks. At 8, you got the Chicago Bulls. At 7, the Utah Jazz. At 6, the Memphis Grizzlies move down a spot. And at 5 is the Detroit Pistons moving down 4 spots from number 1 once again. 4th year in a row. So, let's see who the top 4 is. At 4 is your Portland Trailblazers. At 3 is Charlotte. At 2 is Washington. And at 1, the San Antonio Spurs get the number 1 pick again. The San Antonio Spurs would be interesting if they get the number 1 pick. Let's do a quick little mock draft here, Eric. Who does San Antonio take at number 1?
They should take Collier.
I think they take Collier. They need that like guard for the future, that lead guard.
Mm-hmm.
So Collier number 1, number 2 Washington. I feel like they would be the team to go Sar there.
I feel like they buy into hype and would go for Holland, and kind of just they think they have their wings, their 2-3 with Holland and Koulibaly for the next decade. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let's say
I think this, I know we're doing a mock, but
yeah.
I think in this particular scenario there is a chance Sar falls to 4.
So let's say Washington goes Holland at 2. Who does Charlotte go at 3?
I don't have my
like Buzelis, Castle.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't see them going Castle. They just passed on Scoot, but maybe they just were higher on Brandon Miller regardless. I don't know. So I feel like Charlotte just goes Sar there.
Yeah.
But I feel like Washington needs a big for the future, right? Like, I'm not forgetting anyone. They got Kuzma.
No, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going.
And he's French like Koulibaly.
True.
And it would give him like a really good defensive combo in the front court.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go Sar.
I'm comfortable saying Collier at 1 and then Sar and Holland in some combination at 2 or 3 and at 2 and 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So then at 4, who would you take right now?
I really don't have a good feel for some of these guys yet. I haven't watched enough of Justin Edwards. The UConn game, or the 2 UConn games I've watched now, because today, I don't think he didn't play today, right?
No, I didn't.
So that's 2, or 1 game I watched, 1 game I kind of kept my eye on but have recorded. Castle didn't play in either one, so I haven't really gotten a good look at him yet. Buzelis, I watched the 2 games against Perth, and I wasn't impressed with him that much. I mean, he was fine, but
yeah,
I don't think he's like a top 5. As of this point, I wouldn't take him in the top 5, I don't think.
See, that's how I feel, but I don't know who to put above him.
Yeah.
Like this range, like for the Blazers, Topic, point guard. Klingon, you don't take Klingon top 5, I don't think.
That's what I was saying.
Mara, Almanza is like a glue guy. He's not somebody with star upside. Proctor might have some sneaky upside, but it's a guard, right? And then like Filipowski doesn't play defense. Yeah, but he could be a really good offensive center. So do you just swing for the offensive center because he has that upside? Like,
you get one of those 2 at 10 though. Like,
yeah, that's the problem. Is like this range. That's the thing. Is like, I don't know who I'd put above. Like, Jacoby Walter's a guard, Castle's a guard. Like, in terms of the Blazers' point of view, like that's why I started this conversation. Is like, if you're in that situation and there's no like good opportunities to trade it, then what do? You probably just swing for the highest upside and say screw it, right?
See, this is why like Taylor was giving me crap earlier, but in my opinion, if there's not someone clear cut at a position, I would rather just trade back and get multiple picks and try to find someone that way and take multiple chances on players.
What if teams aren't trying to trade up, though, because they're not sold on a guy like Buzelis either?
I mean, there's always someone. And
we haven't really seen teams trade up a ton in the past couple of years.
But last year, I mean, they only got a couple seconds, but
it was one pick.
Washington goes up.
And then we're still, even if we traded down one spot, we're still in the same position. You know,
No, I know,
even if
but,
we
like,
traded down 3 spots, 4 spots, I feel like we're still
but
in
you
the same
get another
position.
asset. That's what I'm
I
saying.
just
Like,
feel
all
like
these guys are close enough to where I'd rather just take extra assets. And
I don't know if other teams feel the same way where these guys are close enough. I don't know if you're going to be able to get that many extra assets to make it even worth it at all. So,
well, I mean, even if you get a few seconds, I still think it's fine. Like, because if there's not a clear person you're in love with, there.
I mean, but that's basically the conversation for me is like, if you feel like a guy clearly has more upside than anyone left on the board, it probably makes sense just to take him than like trade down and get seconds, right? So that's just the tricky part with this year's draft, and it's very early, so you'll see guys rise. Like Brandon Miller rose a ton. It's a very weird draft. It's a very weird draft. Having like forwards with some talent, but I'm just not sold on them. Like it's normally at this point, like there's a couple guys at the top of the draft where I'm like, yeah, he's nice. But from the minute I started watching Ron Holland, I was just like, this is the dude. This is the dude. He's good. I'm not sold on him being the number 1 prospect. Most of the time in like October, November, start watching those dudes and it is clear right away like why they're a top prospect, you know? Just none of this is clear. So that's where, if it's at 4 and you have to draft, who are you taking? Let's say I just say you have to take someone right now, knowing next to nothing. Like
Holland is one of the youngest players in the draft.
Yes.
Just to be fair, so he still has time to fix a lot of his flaws.
He has the problem where like he's not actually 6'8", he's like 6'6", and I don't know if his burst / first step is great. Like I don't know, or like can develop into being great. I don't know, like physical tools and athleticism with Holland, I'm not super sold. Like he can load up and jump off a 1 in space, but like functional athleticism, I just don't know if he'll be a guy that beats guys regularly off the dribble. And when you look at drafting a superstar, it's like you need somebody that can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where too, like, I mean, not having measurements and stuff, so it kind of sucks. Because like, if Castle's a legit 6'6", maybe he could be like a Jalen Williams type instead of a point guard type, you know, or like Thompson twin type, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe you can play him a small forward a little bit. You know, Justin Edwards, it kind of depends on his size, but like I said, I'm looking for connectors with size, and so Castle can pass the ball. Jacoby Walter I like a lot, but he doesn't pass at all. He's I mean, that could change too. He's freshman, but like so far he's like Jeremy Grant level passing right now. So I look at Topic, you know, like he's scoring and playmaking, has good size for a creator. So I might take a chance on him. And I actually I know we kind of brushed him off as like a low upside guy, but I kind of like Almanza as a guy who can do a little bit of everything.
I would love Almanza with the Warriors pick if it was high enough. You know, like that's the type of guy that you take with the second pick. I feel like.
Yeah, he's kind of like Sohan-esque, where like he can pass the ball a little bit. He plays good defense. I don't know if he's ever going to be like a best player on a team, but yeah, I do think you need guys like him at positions. I think he would be a good fit with Kamara as a like hustle glue guys, but I wouldn't take him at 4. So yeah, I'm probably taking Castle or Topic at 4 and just shooting for highest upside connector types.
Yeah, Castle's intriguing. And then that's where if you get like Cody Williams, I watched some of his footage against God, I don't remember who he was playing. It wasn't a good school. They blew him out, but looked like a dude that knew how to pass. I'm just hoping he can be that like well-rounded wing, you know, that has the size. He's listed as 6'8". If he plays anything like his brother, you know, not to base anything off brothers because I don't think you should, but that was the thing with Jalen Williams is like he was kind of point forward-ish. So then he gets to the NBA and he's not like handling the ball and initiating at that sort of level, but he can make reads and then he can make the right play and then he can drive strong. So it's like finding someone with size that is a bit of a hub for their college team. Once they get to the NBA level, they might not be a hub in the NBA, but you know that if you put them in a situation, they can make the right play. They have experience making the right play. Yeah. So that's kind of the type of thing I'm looking for from guys with size.
Keep an eye on a Daymara then.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I know he can pass. I have questions about. I don't know. Like, I feel like most guys like that need to stretch out their game a little bit in order to truly take full advantage of their passing. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing with him is, can he stretch out his game? And then defensively, like, what is he going to be? But that's where
I'm just saying, keep an eye on him, because if he's showing this early in the season as a freshman the ability to pass as a big man that size, if he can because I'm like that, like you have certain things you look for, right? Like athleticism wise and stuff. I think vision should be pretty high on that. And if you have good vision at a young age, I don't think that ever goes away, like a high basketball IQ. And I think you can fix some of the other parts of his game if you do that. Now, obviously, if he doesn't become with Jokic, for example, he shoots good enough on threes, and of course, 2-pointers. He's amazing. So and super efficient. So it's never going to be an issue. Yeah, you can handle the ball. But you do. I don't know, if you have good vision and you have a good feel for passing, I feel like you can teach him how to play off that more. Yeah.
With him being 7'3", it becomes like at 7'3", is he capable of having the touch to shoot, or the touch to the ability to put the ball on the floor. Like, it's hard when you're that tall around guys that are like a foot shorter than you. So, he's intriguing for sure. That's also where, like, I know Filipowski is a bad defender, and he was a guy that, like, last year's draft we weren't going to be super high on, especially, like, around a Dame-led team. But he's certainly skilled.
Yeah.
For his size and skill level, I mean, he needs to improve in certain areas this year to really sell me. But he's definitely a guy to watch in that regard because he's skilled for his size, for sure. He can put the ball on the floor a little bit, can shoot. Has good touch on the inside, too. Go ahead.
His skill set, like, the way he gets his shots, remind me of the Murray brothers in Iowa. Yeah. And I just feel like it's not going to translate very well to the NBA. Like, because I feel like a lot of his moves are slow, and they work in college, but they're not going to work against quicker, faster players.
Yeah, but he's 6'11", not 6'7". Yeah, so that's like the difference for me. Yeah. Like, I feel like guys with slower moves like that, the taller they are, the more okay it is, the more they'll be able to get away with it. Because that was one of the knock I had on, like, the Murray twins, is I just didn't see their...
I just don't think he has the athleticism to be a creator in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was down a little bit more than I should have been on Sengun, right? But he showed more flashes of being like a passer before he got into the league than Filipowski has. So that's like an area where I'm looking for a jump from Filipowski. So we'll see. But I think Sengun, I was like, oh, he's not athletic. And, like, I don't know. Like, Jokic isn't athletic. Sengun isn't athletic. Like, they're just skilled. And they find ways to get shots off. And they have good touch.
But, so Sengun, I'll say, going into that draft, I thought he had a chance of actually... Because he has good moves. Like, he has good footwork and stuff. Same with Jokic. Yeah. Now, obviously, we didn't do this back when Jokic was drafted, so I don't even remember what I thought of Jokic at the time. Like, I don't think I was that in depth with second round picks and stuff back then. But like Şengün, he has like he positions his body well, and he's more he uses his size more as a big, whereas Filipowski tries to just like take people off the dribble, and it's like kind of slow and methodical. I think Şengün, looking at him prior to the draft, I thought he could do some of the things he did in the NBA. Same with Luka, obviously, but I don't see those same type of footwork and moves from Filipowski. I think he's just really good at being big and skilled in college. I don't know if some of that stuff's going to translate.
Yeah, I mean, that's where like he needs to take a little bit of a jump, because like he has, I don't know, like he's the first thing with bigs is just a certain level of coordination to be able to just physically do things like on an NBA floor, right? More than just like block shots and rebound and finish on the inside or shoot like completely standstill threes, right? So you're looking for a certain like ability to move, certain level of agility with coordination, balance, etc. And then step 2 is, okay, what skill is built on top of it? So first, easiest thing to look for is like, can they shoot the ball? Okay, cool. They can shoot the ball. Okay, can they put the ball on the floor a little bit? Okay, cool. Can they get their shot on the interior at the college level? Okay, cool. And then you start looking at translation stuff. It's basically kind of like the 3-step prospects, the 3-step process with these bigs, in my opinion. And Filipowski, first 2 steps of it, he checks boxes. It's just the translation part is the question mark. So that's where he's like intriguing to me, because he does check some of those boxes in the first 2, steps of that process, and that's where I'm looking forward to watching him more this year, focusing on him more this year, because I wasn't super focused on him last year because he was just not like, he doesn't project as a good defender, and he didn't make sense next to Dame this year. So I was more so with that second pick we had, it was more so, okay, who fits next to Dame that can maybe help the team right away, or maybe they should trade it. And everybody expected him to kind of enter the draft last year, and then he dropped out. That surprised a lot of people. But that's where he has some intrigue, and that's where I need to see more from him and need to see him improve in certain areas so that you can have more confidence in it translating. Is basically where I think he's at now. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it's definitely not as clear-cut as maybe some other guys that were more offensively skilled.
Yeah, and then Colonel Pancake says we're overlooking Khalil Ware. We just haven't even gotten to him yet. We've been talking about other prospects. But I mean, he's been really good this year. Felt like he was a bit of a disappointment last year at some moments for the Ducks, but overall didn't do a whole lot. So he's a year older now. Yeah, I mean, Taylor's asking about athletic. Is there any bigs that are in the top 1% athletically that you can maybe mold into that? And I don't think there is in this draft. I don't think there's a lot of, oh my God, this guy's athleticism is insane, like the Thompson twins last year, right? Yeah. Like there's not those guys in this draft, in my opinion. You're gonna have to try to find but I think Khalil's probably, if you're gonna say which of these top or potential lottery / mid first round picks guys could have elite athleticism if they figured it all out, everything else, I'd probably say it was him. There's not many other players that have close to high-end athleticism.
Yeah.
Bradshaw, yeah, well, it's tough because, I mean, he hasn't played, so is he eligible to play?
I don't know. Bradshaw has elite size, athleticism, dunks everything around the rim, and has a smooth jumper. Needs to add strength and fill out his frame, but has really high upside, recovering from a foot injury. I've never watched him play before, so I'm just going off of NBA draftroom.com. Kugel is the type of guard that I could see being like a sleeper that ends up being a really good scorer at the next level. You got this Salon dude I've never seen from France. 6'9", a long, athletic, talented combo forward with upside is still robbed, but the flashes that he shows are incredibly impressive. Have you ever watched? I don't even know how to
No.
say his name. Okay. Is Melvin Aginsa Alexis Aginsa's son?
Son? I don't know.
I don't know. I've had that question. Like, probably not, but Alexis Aginsa is a guy that's like wasn't on radars enough for people to even mention if he's his son. You know, Garway Dual just punched a dude.
Yeah. Well,
he's one of those guys that like I like the way he moves. You know, like I care about movement patterns and stuff.
Well,
and he's the type of guy where it's like I like the way he moves. So
I mean that guy cheap shot him in the throat before he punched him, but
yeah, I don't even blame him for being mad. So if you want to do the Kentucky guard thing, DJ Wagner.
Hey, look, it has the Blazers at 17 taking Trey Alexander. Because,
We kind of need a shooter like that, so
yeah,
we
20.
need a shooter.
How old is he? Like, he's gonna be like 21 or 22, I think.
21.
Yeah, so
He was young as a freshman, I think. So
yeah,
they have Valmonsa low. Somebody was hyped about Brazil, and he was hurt last year, so need to see how he looks coming back from injury.
mm-hmm.
Uga Poplar is the 30th pick. Is interesting.
Dude, there's so many guys that like. There's a lot of guys like Poplar and
Like just combo guards.
well, no,
Or
that's
small
not
shooting
that's
guards?
not my point. So like I'm trying to think of like Trey Alexander, for example, guys that were like, because obviously we watched some of these guys last year, right?
Yeah.
And there were some guys that weren't even in my top 60 or whatever. I mean, they were close, but like wouldn't have. I thought they probably would have gone undrafted last year, so they made a good decision to come back. And I still going to have the same grade on a lot of these players, but they're going to be like first round picks now because there's just not good enough players ahead of them. Like a Trey Alexander, I think I mean, he's played phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't think he's like a top 20 pick in most drafts, you know.
Yeah.
But he's going to be in this one, even if you don't have a first round grade on him, because there's like not enough players.
Aiden Mahaney is kind of interesting. I don't know. Like, I feel like he's going to take a jump. I was impressed with him just watching Gonzaga St. Mary's games last year. But he was just, like, inconsistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coleman Hawkins has always been interesting. Anyway, what were you going to say?
I don't know if Mahaney handles the ball well enough to be a point guard in the NBA. He can definitely shoot the ball, though.
Yeah, but that's the type of thing you can improve, so
Yeah.
that's where, improve that a bit. Could take a jump. Igodaro, I know, is on some, like, first-round radars. Anton Watson is my guy, but I don't think he'll get drafted or necessarily should get drafted. He's not a good enough shooter. He does a lot of little things well. He's kind of like Tomani Kamara in a way. But
If you say so.
what do you mean? What is he? How is he not? You gonna hate on my guy Anton?
No, he's like, I don't know. Because he's not, I don't think he can play wing. But he's not.
He's not a good enough shooter.
Yeah.
Is the difference between him and like a Kamara. Kamara was a good enough shooter that he got drafted back in the second round. Now he looks good. I also think Kamara is probably a little better defending on the perimeter. But like Watson is like connective passer, smart player, can finish strong, decent athlete, like yeah. Do they have any other Gonzaga players? Because Gonzaga players have panned out when they get into the league. You know, they've I don't know. You know, they've done pretty well. Look at Zach Collins this year. Look at Chet Holmgren. Look at Sabonis. Strother, I think, is going to end up being pretty good. He's already shown some flashes for a late first. Yeah. Yeah. Put some respect on my Gonzaga Bulldogs.
Aren't they playing someone big coming up?
Purdue,
yeah.
Purdue on Monday.
I have that game set to record.
Yeah, so
Good
Zach
to watch.
Edey.
Zach Edey destroy you guys.
Dude, I should really put a new AI generated picture here instead of team stats when we get blown out. Like, who cares about team stats? They shot amazing, we shot like crap. That's the team stats. Here's a picture of Eric shooting bricks.
Are you going to be really high on Ben Gregg in next year's draft?
No, Braden Huff though. Braden Huff. You wanna hear Braden Huff's stats so far this season on like 2 games?
Sure.
All right. I'll give you his per whatever they give me, per 40, I think, on Sports Reference. All right, let's see here. What do they give me? Yeah, per 40 minutes.
Oh, is this because it came in and scored like a point in 20
Per 40 minutes, he's averaging 49 points per game and 18 rebounds, shooting 79% from 2 and 60% from 3 in 2 games against Yale and Eastern Oregon.
That's pretty good.
That's absurd. Yeah, in 17 minutes a game, he's averaging 21 points and 8 boards. Yeah, his number is, yeah. Look who they played, but he's a guy that's exciting. You know, we needed someone to replace Timmy. He might be the next Timmy. But he can actually shoot threes, because Timmy could never figure that part out.
It's not a tumor.
Oh, man. Garway Dual for the name. Yeah, there's certain guys where I try not to be like, oh, that sounds like a star because of their name. Like, Stephon Castle just sounds like a star, you know?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that's a huge part of Scoot.
Because his name is Scoot Henderson?
Yeah.
Like, if his name was...
Well, like look at Brandon Miller, right? That's like a boring name, right?
Yeah.
Ahmed and Asar, like, those are cool names, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
that's why you hated on Anthony Black.
Yeah.
He had a basic name.
I was high on Brandon Miller, so how was...
Anthony Black's looked decent to start off.
Brandon Miller's looking pretty good, too.
Brandon Miller's looking great, yeah. He's looking just like the number 3 option I thought he would be. Oh, man. I wish Scoot was looking like a number 3 option when he played, damn it. Yeah. Also, screw the Hornets and their fans for applauding Miles Bridges. Anyway. God.
Well, screw the Hornets organization for playing him.
Yeah, agreed. Everyone knows people with cool names don't bust. What bust has the coolest name? Who is like the biggest combination of like cool name and biggest bust in the last like 10 to 15 years? I mean, Dragon Bender has to be up there, right? Like, this dude's name is Dragon. How is he not good?
Yeah, I mean, you can say Taco, but he wasn't drafted.
Nah, he wasn't a bust. He was.
We're talking about like, yeah.
Talking about like high draft picks.
Screw y'all for what y'all did to Dame? Are you talking to us, Javier?
What are you on about, my guy?
Hashim to beat? That's a good one.
Screw y'all for having Dame's back. Yeah.
Bull.
Bull was a 2nd round pick, though.
Yeah.
Darko Milicic. Yeah, I feel like every like almost every international name is cool though. So like, what about a non-international name? I don't know.
Have to look back on drafts now.
Yeah. Let me look at a 2025 mock draft. Cuz I remember looking through the 2025 mock draft the other day and there were some cool names, bro. Arius Bailey. They call him Ace Bailey, 6'9" forward. Like, if we don't get Cooper Flagg, I want Ace Bailey. I know nothing about him, but he sounds good. VJ Edgecombe. Rocco Zakarski. Carter Knox, Kevin Knox's younger brother. AJ just found his new player to fan boy over. You got Dink Pate, or however you say his name.
It's Pate.
Dink Pate. You got Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard and Alexander Sarr had a kid. His name is Dame Sarr. There's a Dame Sarr in next year's draft.
Do you think Killian Hayes is a cool name?
Killian Hayes is pretty badass name. Yeah, he didn't pan out.
Pokuševski.
Yeah.
It's a non-form guy. Precious Achua, he hasn't really.
I mean, for where he was picked, like.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bust. Next year, you got a dude named Tahad Pettiford. Xavier Booker. Just sounds like somebody that'd be decent. I don't know. Ulrich Chomchi. I probably said that wrong. Ves Missy. Call him Messi. Victorious Miller. I love it. Victorious with a Y. Basala Bagayi. I can't even say that right. What you say?
Didn't that Victorious guy just commit to Oregon?
Did he?
I think so. I want to say that's him. I don't know how many different people have the name Victorious with a Y.
Freddie Dillion. I might have said the last name wrong, but Cannon Catchings. Dude, the 2025 draft is legendary just for the names.
Help me out, chat. Aren't there a bunch of dunk honks in here?
Derek Queen. Derek Derik Queen.
Is that Trevlin Queen's brother?
I don't know. 6'9". Yeah, next year's draft was legendary for... It's a really good draft next year, is all I'm going to say.
No one in chat follows the Ducks, I guess. I don't know.
Damn. I thought there were Ducks fans in here. Anyway, go Huskies.
What's his last name?
It's safe to say that.
I guess I will look it up.
Victorious Miller. Victorius. We have the same name. Tori is short for Victory.
Yep. Victorious Miller commits to Oregon Ducks 3 days ago.
Congratulations, Ducks fans. You got a dude named Victorious. You're about to win it all. There's a guy named Marquise MJ Rice. MJ Rice. So combining the best basketball player with the best receiver ever. How about the opposite? Joe Smith. Yeah, Joe Smith. Justice Winslow. Actually, facts. Justice Winslow, yeah, Eric.
Joe Smith is like the most generic name you can get, I think. I don't think it's possible. Maybe Joe Johnson. No, Joe Smith's probably more generic than Joe Johnson, right?
See, I'm glad my first name's a little unique. Considering my last name is Jones.
Joe Jones.
Joe Jones. Tom Jones. Yeah, it could have been bad. After being in these streams for the past 4 years, I never knew or heard of Tori being a Washington fan. We learn something new every day. Yeah, that's because you're always so focused on me being a Gonzaga fan, bro. But Gonzaga doesn't have a football team, so... Is Tori's real name Victory? Yes. Let's go with it. Let's go with it. Victorey. I almost forgot to spell the my name part of that name.
Robbie, I'm 44 years old. No NBA team wants anything to do with me. As a player, at least.
Tori the Bosnian boy Jones? What?
Okay. Dude, I'm worried I might have the damn core injury.
Really?
Yeah. In my game on Thursday, I felt something pop like in my lower abdomen or like pull. And it's been sore ever since.
That sucks. This dude thinks he's Dame. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, the Nasser little Gary Payton.
Yeah, there you go. That's more your speed. Hopefully you don't, because that would be tough.
I'll just play through it like Dame did.
Facts. Yeah, give us a first-hand experience of what it's like to play through that, and then take Toradol shots, Eric.
Yep.
This is not medical advice for legal purposes, YouTube. Yeah. This guy's saying he's tougher than Dame. Can we talk about trading Scoot? I think we should do it ASAP and capitalize on his value. What are you talking about, bro? This would be the worst time to trade him value-wise.
He has like no value because.
Why would you trade him after he plays terribly and then gets hurt and expect
after we
the
just
best
gave up
value
everything for him?
Yeah, like what? That doesn't make sense. This would be the worst time to trade him. This is the lowest his value should be for the rest of his career, I hope. And if not, then we're screwed anyways.
Okay. All right. This is one thing that I will definitively say, and I'm sorry, but you're just wrong if you think the opposite of this. Scoot should never play in the G League again unless it's like a injury rehab game or something.
He already got 2 years, yeah.
He played in this G League for 2 years. Sending him down to the G League would do absolutely nothing for his development. Like, he needs to learn how to play in the NBA, not the G League.
I agree. Damn.
Oh, so close.
Yeah. Let's see if I can do it. This is the new hat toss. Since I got a lamp, it's got some light in here.
Javier says he's trolling, but someone else actually said it seriously earlier in the stream.
I knocked out my Glade plugin.
Alvaro says Gary Payton never apologized for the Toradol lies, and also Shams never had a retraction or anything.
That was horrible. I'm getting worse.
Would you trade the Golden State Warriors pick right now for Jonathan Kuminga? That's an interesting question.
Yes. Would you?
Definitely think about it. I don't know. I'm not a huge Kuminga guy, but I think he'd be good forward to have right now.
Yeah, I actually, like, the more I think about it, the more I do it in a heartbeat. Like, which doesn't make sense because I'm thinking about it. But.
one more year before you have to pay him.
Yeah, is he gonna get paid that much though? I mean, we're already paying Grant what we're paying Grant. Like,
no, I'm just I wasn't saying I wouldn't pay him. I was just seeing how many years he had.
I'm like 0 for 10. Oh well. I need to put a basketball hoop behind. Just try and flip Nerf balls into a hoop behind me. That'd be sick. Yeah, I'd do it. It's an interesting question though, for real.
Did you read Hyperprime's member message? How did we lose by 43?
Yes.
Did you read Jack M?
$2 donation. Yeah, I was just looking at these. $2 donation from Jack M. What's up, Jack? Says, what's up, fellas? What are your thoughts on Klingon? I like Klingon. I think if I don't know, like he's the type of guy that you add to a team that already has like a superstar, in my opinion, like has a core built out. I'm not 100% confident in our core yet, so I'd probably maybe rather take a chance on some upside because I think we have to find that superstar. But like Klingon, I think is destined to be a starting center in the league. Just because of what he can do on the defensive end. Like I think he is one of the safest bets to be a good NBA player in this draft. It's just I don't think he's gonna be a star by any means because he's just not gonna be offensively impactful in that way.
Right. Yeah, he seemed really blocky with stone hands and lack of touch on offense and but yeah, defensively, I mean, guys like Walker Kessler and like players like that have panned out recently, as long as they're okay defensively. So yeah, I'd probably take him. I don't think I'm taking him in the lottery as of right now, though.
Yeah. Shout out to Carter Dick, member for 12 months. He has the 1-year member badge now. Congrats, Carter. Says, if Sar, Holland, Collier, and Castle were in last year's draft, where would they land? I think they would all land... Man. I think they would all land for sure outside the top 3. I think they all might have landed outside the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have gone like 6 to 9.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe one of them, I mean, it's still a lot to be determined. Maybe one of them sneaks into 5.
Yeah.
But that's probably best case scenario, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you for the
donations, yeah. Got
donations and memberships.
Tonight.
Yeah.
Let's go. Alrighty. Ant for Buddy Healed, no. Brogdon for Tyler Harrell. What are we doing here, Nick Thompson?
Nick always has great trade ideas.
I can't believe it. We're going to have the worst record in the league. We won't win 15 games this year. We're going to get Ant and Scoot back, though. And Brogdon. Like, we'll have some sort of offense. Like, if we had these guys the entire season, we might be like 500. We're what, 3-10, but like one of them we lost in OT. A couple of them were very close losses that you could say would have been wins. So what, if we're like 6 and 7, you know? Like, but it's always easy to say that. Like, who knows if they struggle, you know, Scoot struggles, like we could have lost the game sway even more. Who knows? But the thing is, we haven't had a super hard schedule, I feel like.
I felt like it was harder going into this season than it ended up being.
Yeah, I agree. Like what? The Cavs haven't been super good. The Lakers have been okay. The Jazz aren't that good. The Kings haven't been that good. And
played Memphis twice.
Played Memphis twice, and they haven't been as good as we thought. The Pistons, the Raptors, like the only surefire non-play-in team that we played is the Sixers. Like the Thunder is, in my opinion, the Thunder are the second best team that we've played this year. Like the two legitimate playoff teams, which you could say the Lakers are a legitimate playoff team, but one game we played them without LeBron, and like they're missing Vanderbilt, and I honestly don't think they're a legitimate playoff team at this point. Like I think they're a borderline playoff team, play-in team. I think the Thunder and the Sixers are two legitimate playoff teams. We lost one of those games by 28 and one of those games by 43. Like getting back Ant, Scoot, and Brogdon is not taking this from a 43-point loss to a win. So, like, we might be like 6-7 with them, but I think it would be majorly due to our schedule. Like, the fact that we are this bad against the teams that we've been playing is kind of embarrassing. And it's like, we'll be fine for a stretch and then be like the worst team I've ever seen for a stretch. Like, our lulls are monumental. Zach says I'm watching the stream on delay. The biggest bust with a good name, and my honest opinion is definitely Stephen Curry. Okay, Zach. Stephon Castle is better than Stephen Curry as a name. We'll see if he's better as a player. You know, we need the next Stephen Curry. Let's take Stephon Castle. Noah Clowney will be a Blazer. Where did he get drafted again?
Nets.
Yeah, that's right. He's not playing at all, is he?
No, he just had I think he's in the G League. I think he had a big game in the G League yesterday.
I think watching Chauncey's complex system is making me lose brain cells.
Yeah, I think it is for all of us.
Do we have any brain cells left to lose? Dude, like this game literally gave me a headache watching it. Like this game, watching this game literally stressed me out. Part of it is like, okay, how do I do a post-game show for this game? Luckily, like, we had more people in here than the last couple post-game shows, so it made me feel a little bit better. But I legitimately see a game like this, and it's like, man, is anybody gonna tune in for the post-game show? Because, oh my god, we suck. It's not fun to stress about, man. It's not fun to stress about, but yeah, I literally still have a headache from this game. I feel like
back when I was actually cared about the game right at the beginning. Do you want to hear what notes I had so far?
Yes.
All right. So
after the Kamara dunk, because we talked about it.
Yeah. All right. We're just gonna let Chet shoot wide open threes. Okay. Jeremy, first time touching the ball, no pass, transition, turnover. And I looked back at a few of my other notes, and I noticed several other games where I mentioned where Jeremy touched the ball first. His first touch of the game had a turnover, so that seems to be a theme. And then SGA blows by Sharp. Then Sharp gets taken by Dort. Next possession, gets in the air, fouls him, and then falls asleep on an inbounds pass. So 6 of OKC's first 11 points were because of Sharp either falling asleep or playing bad defense. And then Ayton having a real tough time recovering on the pick and roll, and it's leading to open shots. And I gave up after that.
Yeah.
But
good.
I did want to mention, we have not brought this up yet. We did bring up the fact that tonight's narrative on the Blazer broadcast was that we are in the position OKC was in 2 years ago, and they really hammered that home with quotes from Chauncey and all that stuff in the game. But there were at least 4 plays in the first quarter that Blazer broadcasting missed. Like the one where Sharp fell asleep, the one I just talked about. Yeah. They come back to it when Dort's catching the ball like under the hoop. There was so many plays that they come back. There was one where they come back and we're shooting a 3 at the top of the key. I have no idea what we ran or like what happened. Like, what is with it with this broadcast? Like, are they really that I don't know, because they mentioned they were going to make it more like a national broadcast with stories and all this stuff, which is great. But like, don't not show the game while you're doing that crap too. Like, you can't split screen it or something, or show a little the game in the bottom right corner or something.
It also doesn't look like a national TV game.
No,
like the color balance on the cameras don't look like a national TV game. The scoreboard looks amateurish. Take it from somebody who's built bottom tickers, man. Like the scoreboard is fine, but it doesn't look like a national TV game. Like, those scoreboards are clean. This is still got the weird font, and I like the in and out thing that they do. It's just like they need, in my opinion, a total rehaul of their graphics package in order to look more like a national TV broadcast. They don't, I don't know, like, there's just not, it doesn't have that vibe. It does not have that vibe. And that starts with the graphics, that starts with the scoreboard, but that also starts with the flow of how you flow in and out of everything. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I don't know. It's literally the same as it was last year. It does not feel like a national TV broadcast.
But they got Haberstra.
The thing is, yeah. Oh my God. That's just, what the We're going to be a national broadcast, and time to stump Stroh when he looks up the answers and then still can't answer them all right. Let's play some funky music. What are we doing? Like, what do you mean that's national broadcast? That's literally like something me and you could throw together with freaking Crushables. We stump Crushables. Let's see how little you know, bro. Who was the Blazers' 32nd overall pick in 1974? Go. Like, play some music. Play the Blazers Uprise trumpets theme. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's, the thing is national broadcasts have all these extra elements, and they know when to weave into them so that they have time to come out of them and not miss a play. The Blazers broadcasting does not have that down at all. They are horrible regarding the timing and the length of little things that they try and toss in there, and then cutting back out in time to see the play. That's why we miss so many plays. And it comes across extremely amateurish, like it just comes across bad. If you weave it in during a little break or a dead ball and then weave back out of it right in time for the play, it's very smooth, right? And then the experience isn't interrupted, it's enhanced. But if you interrupt the play, then it feels interrupted. It feels like a nuisance, not something that's adding to the broadcast. So, not impressed. Not impressed with the broadcast. They always promise us big things year after year. Last year it was super analytical, like they're going to be next. It's going to be next gen, right?
They had this stupid thing on the screen where it showed like 3-point percentage when they shot a thing or whatever on a replay.
Yeah,
it's always like 32% or something.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense. Like, yeah, and it wasn't like context dependent enough to like make it make sense. Like, it seemed to not take account into if a player was like moving or fading away, just closest defender. Like, there's no way to really do that and make it completely accurate regarding chance. So I don't know. It did not land. And then this year, national TV broadcast, they failed. I don't feel it. Colt says the cameras they do also suck, especially the one on top of the arena. Yeah, like, that's also the big part with national TV broadcasts. You can see a difference in terms of the way the colors look on the screen with a national TV broadcast and local broadcasts. So if you want to make it look like a national TV broadcast, that's the first thing you have to address is the cameras, the color balance, the way it appears.
What do you think of this? De'Aaron Fox is a top 15 player, and Kevin Calabro's list of top 15 players that they've now talked about for 3 straight games.
He had Fox as a top 15 player? Over who?
Are you not watching the game?
No, I heard it. Was that over SGA? I heard Hurd talking about it, and Hurd had Fox 3. With SGA, and who else was it?
Well, that was Halliburton they were discussing.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of zone out sometimes when or when Calabro starts talking about random stuff.
Tonight, because Hurd has said the last couple of games that he's going to need to see his top 15 if he has, like, to see who he's leaving out if it's like that. And then it was so like it was awkward because then Hurd said, or no, Calabro said like, well, top 15 to me it would be the all NBA teams, right? Because there's 15 players, so those are the top 15 players. So I'm taking like Julius Randle out and putting Fox in or something like that. And like,
What?
and then Hurd was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense because like Booker and KD weren't on the All NBA teams or whatever. So does that mean they're not in your top 15 or and like and then Clever like seemed like he's like, why do you keep bringing this up? So he finally just like made his list. So they came back from a commercial and they put his actual list in a graphic on the screen, and yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that part. On breaks, normally I go to Twitter, and then once I hear that the game action is underway, I switch back. So, who is he missing?
I don't know who he was missing. I don't know. I looked at he had Dame, KD. It could seem like he wasn't missing anyone, but I don't know.
I mean, if he had Fox top 15, how do you have Fox top 15? That's bad.
He had Jaylen Brown top 15 too.
Then he's definitely missing someone, like Jimmy Butler, maybe.
No, Butler was on there because he said that was one he could take or
was
leave.
Gilgeous-Alexander on there?
I think so.
Huh. I wonder who he's missing then. Wonder who's missing. I don't know. I mean, that's the closest they've gotten to a national broadcast, a bad top 15 list. That's the closest they've gotten, because the ESPN loves those top 100 lists, even though their top 100 lists are bad. You put one Laker, that was funny. I think he replaced Fox with Butler. Butler was on the list he showed, but he changed it. Yeah. So he wasn't prepared to answer. I don't know. That's the thing, too, is they feel like they're just bored out of their minds at times. And you can feel it. Like, I can't blame them, but damn. It's rough out here. Anyway.
Well, I think like Claver just makes a statement and he didn't want to like go any further than that, but like Hurd was like, "Oh, how do you have him top 15?" And he just would not let it go for several games, and yeah.
Good job, Hurd. Make him back up his takes with a list, I guess. Yeah, broadcast hasn't impressed me. This team hasn't impressed me. This team is bad. Anything else you want to get into?
No, thanks for watching. We'll have our stream tomorrow afternoon around 3:30-ish. Blazers Uprise podcast. That'll be an episode of Blazers Uprise Live on that second channel. So tune in for that if you want more fun Blazer talk, as well as maybe more, generic NBA talk. And we'll probably take questions and stuff on there if you have any. And then we have back-to-back games Tuesday and Wednesday, so we'll have post-game shows on those days as well.
Yep, and then on Tuesday, our next game, Suns Valley podcast for Watch Party. Check it out. The Suns guys, Suns Valley podcast, do watch parties for every game, so just gonna hang out with them with their chaos. Also, it's rated R, alright? Anything they say, I don't necessarily condone it. Okay? Because I'll just say that. They curse. They are very rambunctious, so Gabe's a funny guy. So, if you don't want to listen to a dude screaming and maybe blurting out multiple curse words in a row, then, you don't have to tune in. I love how I have to do a disclaimer for Gabe, but I feel like I need to do a disclaimer for Gabe. But yeah, we'll check that out if you want to. Yeah, post-game show, second channel. And then shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this post-game show. Once again, if you want to get in on any of the NBA action or the NFL action going on right now, BetUS covers any sport you can think of. They also have European basketball on there. Multiple international basketball leagues. So if you want to get into a different league other than the NBA, they got you covered.
We need to. We have like a wide-ranging audience all over the world, right?
Yeah.
We need to somehow get some sort of edge in some random league, and like I'll just bet on the same game in some random like you know Turkish league or something, and like all make money together, like find some like team that can't lose against the spread in some random league. And yeah, so someone needs to alert us of a team that's underrated in one of those leagues that we can all win money on.
Yeah. Basketball is the guy. NBA, NCAA, Italy Liga A, Germany BBL, ABA League, Argentina Liga A, Bulgaria NBL, Greece A1, South Korea KBL, Brazil MBB.
Where's all our Bulgarian fans? Like we have people that
Yeah, where is our Bulgarian fans? We definitely get Bulgarian currency every once in a while as a donation, so or maybe that's Belgium currency. I don't know. Definitely got people across
we got
the world.
Bulgarian. Yeah.
But here's the thing, Eric. Have you realized that I don't think the people living overseas are watching this team at odd hours right now because they're so bad.
I wouldn't get up at 3 a.m. to watch this.
No,
team.
I wouldn't either. So I can't blame them. So that's why we haven't really been seeing them. Unfortunately, is because most of them probably aren't tuning into this team right now, given the state they're in, which I can't blame them, but we'll try and keep their fandom intact, Sometimes I feel like people overseas, it'd be easy to kind of just, like, stop being a Blazer fan if you don't have that local connection to them, but hopefully we can, like, be that connection to the Blazers for them, in a way, this community, so, then again, are we doing them a disservice? Maybe we're doing them a disservice, but we'll be good once again at some point. Who knows how soon? But every team bounces back from years like this, whether it's 2 years or 10 years or 15 years in the Kings' case. So we'll be back playing meaningful basketball at some point. It's just, unfortunately, doesn't look like it's going to be this year. But that's why you use BetUS. You use the link in the description box below, and you receive a 125% deposit bonus so you can have some fun with NBA action. I think the NBA is a ton of fun to watch this year, and there is no pressure of the Blazers going up against these other teams, so it's kind of easier to enjoy the, rise of an OKC in a way. But also, it's time to scout some prospects. They got NCAA basketball games as well, so if you need some incentive to watch a prospect, you can bet the spread on a game or bet whatever else you want. So definitely check out that link. You can get that 125% deposit bonus over at BetUS. Shout out to them for supporting the channel all season long. Huge thank you to BetUS. With that being said, we're out of here. We'll be live again tomorrow with Picks Against the Spread brought to you by BetUS. So stay tuned. That'll be on Blazers Uprise podcast. Link in description. And we good? We good, Eric?
Yeah, thanks for watching.
We're bad. But are you good?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just got to make it through another one of these seasons, right?
Yep.
Hopefully we get some players back and have some brighter spots to talk about.
Luckily, we were able to, build up to this point where, maybe we have the endurance to tank for an entire year now, right?
Yeah.
We did partial seasons the last couple years. Now maybe we can handle a whole season of it. But, I mean, I'll just say this. When Scoot and Ant come back, it's going to be more fun to watch the team, And then if those guys have fun performances, it won't be, pulling teeth like it is right now. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It'll be fun to watch those guys again.
But think if this was last season, we'd be fine with it because we'd be like Wemby, right?
I wasn't happy when we started losing last season, so.
But I mean, if we had, we wouldn't be happy with the process. But right now, we'd be talking about how we have a really good chance at Wemby, right? So at least we had that carrot dangling. But now it's I don't know. A lot of these prospects aren't even interesting. So it's just tough. I really need to force myself to get into college basketball right now, just so we have something to get our hopes up for. But
I mean, it is interesting having two potentially top 10 picks, maybe. That part's pretty cool. So, and a couple second rounders. Guys will pique my interest. We will have our draft crushes come June. that will be rooting to draft, and the draft stream should be a lot of fun. Like next offseason should be a lot of fun. Trade deadline should be interesting, like we'll continue to try and bring entertainment, and there's a few different like segments I want to kind of put into post-game shows and whatnot. So like, like future will be better. We got to grind through it right now with the injuries we got. But even if we continue to lose, having Scoot and Ant back will be more fun. Some of the things I put in will be more fun. Getting closer to the trade deadline, talking more trades will be fun. Getting a better feel for some of these prospects will be fun. The next offseason will be fun. Like, there's things to look forward to, even as bleak as it is right now for this team.
Absolutely.
So that's just kind of what I'm trying to stay focused on in order to, have hope for brighter days ahead and to not be too down on the situation right now. So, we'll continue to try and bring that perspective to you guys. So this team remains interesting, and, there's entertaining things for us to talk about. So, and Tuesday should be entertaining because it's the Suns. So that'll be fun. Nurkic versus Ayton in Phoenix. Like, that's an intriguing game, man.
All-Star Nasir Little.
Yeah. Me and Gabe are gonna make Mojo picks and enter the same contest. So we'll see how those go against each other. We'll have more to talk about with Mojo. If you guys want to sign up but don't know how it works, feel free to hit me up. Still giving away the Symphony Simons jersey. Probably gonna pick the winner in like a week maybe for this. So if you want to join. It's not a sponsor for this post-game show, but just let me know. And that'll be our sponsor on Tuesday. But with that being said, we're out of here. We'll catch you again tomorrow. Blazers Uprise Podcast, Blazers Uprise Live. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.